Moravian Falls, despite its many successes and achievements, saw its share of tragedy. The floods of 1916 and 1940 destroyed many lives and businesses, transforming the usually placid Cub and Moravian creeks into violent rapids. The people, already saddened because their boys were either training for or fighting World War I, were stricken by a Spanish influenza epidemic. Mount Carmel Church was turned into a hospital. Many died. Food, water, and wood were taken to the hospital steps and left. People were afraid to go in and wait on the sick because the ones who went in to help risked contracting the disease. Another tragedy befell Moravian Falls in 1943 when a plane crashed in the area. On March 15th, a large B-25 Army bomber plane crashed at midnight Friday near Moravian Falls on the bank of Moravian Creek. It was a routine flight from the Army base at Columbus, South Carolina.
We had 2 drive-in theaters. We had North Wilkes-County. We actually had 3, but the one in Miller's Creek I never went to very often. Yeah, but the one in 115 where Lowe's Supermarkets, the Starlight Drive-In, it was there, and then the one up on 18, North Wilkes-County, it's yet there. It doesn't function, but it's yet there.
The screen is there. That's about all.
Yeah, but that was a good time. I mean, you could go to a drive-in movie and popcorn was 25 cents and drinks was 25 cents. I mean, it cost you 50 cents for your drinks and your popcorn, and it cost hardly nothing to get in.
As I got a little older, we'd ride down to Bob's Fish Lake, which was there probably until early 70s, mid-70s, I guess. And it was just a dirt lake, basically sand bottom lake. Had a great big platform out in the middle of it, a wooden platform for a diving board. And it was probably 10 feet high, but it seemed about 25 feet high when you got on top of it when you were a little kid. And we'd get up there and jump off and swim around, and every now and then you'd get to swim with a little fish, or maybe a little water snake would come in from the little spring that fed the pond there. And so it was an interesting experience. There was probably, sometimes 100 or more people in the summertime would be there. And then it got transformed into the water park. It was a KOA campground. This is probably in the late 70s, and it was probably one of the biggest water parks around this region at that time.
Cub Creek originates on the Brushy Mountains from a spring on what used to be Mitch Davis's land. Corn mills were popular places along the creek, where mill ponds provided children places to swim in the summer and skate in the winter. One little pond amused Noah Pearson so much that people began calling it Noah's Hole, or Noe's Hole. In addition to Noah's swimming, it was used for baptizing.
Noe Pearson would get in the water and just stay in that water on the hot summer days, and people would pass and they'd say, "Well, there's Noe."
The Moravian Falls Baptist and Methodist churches existed in harmony for quite some time. In the early years, the men of each church alternated Sunday school and Sunday breakfast. The Moravian Falls Methodist Church was constructed first in 1875 under the name of Beulah Methodist Church and built on land donated by Mr. Hicks.
R.L. Hicks, Richard Laughlin Hicks. He gave the land that the Methodist Church is built on, and he sawed a lot of lumber by hand that was used in the making of the church.
The Baptist Church followed in 1886 and was placed on a hill across the road from the Methodist Church. Over the years, attendance at the Methodist Church declined. Much to the dismay of the congregation, the church was taken for the Hispanics who failed to meet the established contract. In 2007, the building was acquired by Crossfire United Methodist Church, a non-traditional congregation formed as a place for bikers. After a short period of time, the bikers bought Lovett facilities, leaving the church for sale. More than 200 years after elk had been hunted to extinction in North Carolina, once again, elk are thriving in Moravian Falls. The Wapiti Park Elk Farm is located on Highway 18 just past the Highway 16 intersection across from Wilkes Central Middle School. The Brushy Mountains is the last range of mountains paralleling the Blue Ridge south of that range. It rises in the south-central portion of Caldwell County and constitutes the southern part of Wilkes County and the northern part of Alexander and Iredell counties, and strikes Yadkin County in its west-central portion. It's a chain of mountains about 5 to 8 miles wide and about 1,600 feet above sea level. The highest peak in Wilkes County is Poor's Knob, with an altitude of 2,680 feet. It's a mountain range that broadens in Wilkes and Alexander counties and is located in what is known as the thermal belt, or above the frost belt, where and by reason of which fruits and vegetables are not visited by early and late frosts, and creates an atmospheric condition necessary to the development of the finest fruits. It's nature's protection of these fruits, giving them their beauty, flavor, and juices. It's also by some means favorable to the growing of rye, wheat, and other crops. The Brushy Mountain region has proved to be an ideal place for fruit orchards. Peaches, cherries, and especially apples thrive in the area's unique climate. In 1904, a Brushy Mountain apple received the Gold Medal Award at the World's Fair held in St. Louis, Missouri. Tradition has it that the apples were provided by E.H. Squires. W.H.H. Waugh owned the Gold Medal orchards. Mr. Waugh's daughter lived at the orchards after his death.
During the Depression, when there was so little to do, my dad got in them orchards and cleaned them out. That was our spare time work. And set out young trees and started building the orchard up.
Apple that comes from a seedling tree, the apple most of the time is not any good. Once in a while you'll get a real good apple. That's the reason there's so many varieties. But so to get the variety you want, you got to get a twig off the good apple tree, graft it into your seedling tree, and get the kind of apple you want. You take wood that grew last year out of the tree you want, and you want good healthy wood if you do it, and you can put it together with a cambium layer of the bark. The white part of the bark has to match on both pieces, and it's got to be held still there and sealed airtight, and it'll grow. It's several different ways to do it, but that's the general idea. You got to get that cambium layer to match on both pieces. I took up grafting because I get trees cheaper that way. My roots start and graft them cheaper than I can buy them from the nursery. And got interested in the hobby and done a lot of grafting for other people. And people bring me different varieties of old apples. Usually it's something at grandma's house, apple they want to preserve. And I'd graft it for them, and I'd save me a twig and put it in this tree.
We have chemicals today. And back in my father's day, if he had a crop apple, one year he'd have too many apples. The next year, he had maybe a half a crop or less. This is because of an apple tree, by nature, is biennial. Where it's set, and we today, we take these apples off with chemicals at the right time, and you have to use so many parts per million to do this, and one day's timing can be critical.
Brushy Mountain apples were also useful in the production of moonshine.
Peach brandy behind Mr. Bid Williams' house. I was wandering down. I thought I had picked up a Boy Scout fox and geese deal, but it was the Still boys who had put pieces of paper along to guide the next one in, and I was the next one in, making a lot of sound and fury as I came, and everybody ducked, and all I saw was the back bottoms of a bunch of boys down there, so I backed out saying, "I've gone, I don't know any of you." But at that period of time, in the, that would have been the early 30s, they were still, and I used to feel that within 2 miles at any time I could have found a still working.
Sam Cape, a retired ATF agent from the Brushies, was interviewed by the Wilkes Journal-Patriot in 1988 and again in 1991.
How did you get your information? Did you maybe have somebody get at, say one whiskey man get a little aggravated in another, or?
Well, we got that. We got a lot through the whiskey makers' wives. Some of them get awful mad. See the old boy make him 2 or 3 rounds, and give him some money.
Yeah.
And back then, $1,000, a lot of money. 40,
Yeah, man, yeah, $1,000 is a lot of money.
You buy him a car, and get him a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit the fan. I had one woman to shoot at me one time. We were up on Elk Creek and got a big still behind her house up there. after we blew the steel up, this other officer and I came on back down, got in the car. And we'd already located, but they knew we were there, you know. They put up these little traps around still, you know. Sometimes they'll wad a $20 bill up, or a $10 bill. Lay it on the ground there. See if anybody comes in there and picks it up. They'll lay little sticks around the boxes, you know. So I told her, I said, you tell your husband to come in. No, I asked her, I said, where is your husband? She says, he's over in Tenori. Lenore, you know?
Yeah.
I said, you tell him to come in now. We got a warrant, we're gonna get a warrant for him, come commissioners. Says, he ain't going nowhere, and says, you ain't either. I told this other officer, I said, let's go. He said, what for? I said, come on, let's go. And we got the truck pulling off. And she stuck a shotgun out along that rifle there. So, hit the truck, but it didn't do it. Just, I believe it was a bird shot or something.
Yeah.
So I stopped and told this other officer to get out and see what she's doing. And he got out and jumped back in and said, my God, she's reloading. So we left.
Cabe said, I found 99% of bootleggers to be truthful and cooperative once you caught them. I just did my job and they did what they wanted making liquor. It won't ever be like it was in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Not much left today. Like the buffalo, it's gone. The Brushy Mountain Apple Festival is one of the largest one-day arts and crafts festivals in the Southeast, with over 160,000 people in attendance. The Brushy Mountain Ruritan Club owns, operates, and organizes the event each year. The festival is the club's largest fundraiser and has become one of Wilkes County's largest. Over 100 civic, church, and other nonprofit organizations participate. The festival boasts over 425 arts and crafts, 100 food concessions, 4 different music stages consisting of bluegrass, country, folk, gospel, and Appalachian heritage. Cloggers, folk dancers, rope skippers, and square dancers provide additional entertainment venues for festival goers. Appalachian heritage crafts are highlighted, such as wood carving, chair making, soap making, pottery throwing, and quilting. Kathleen Morehouse lived in the Brushies for over 70 years. Although she maintained characteristics and speech of a native New Englander and corresponded regularly with fellow authors and other professionals around the world, Mrs. Morehouse came to be as much a part of the Brushies as the dwindling apple orchards here. Mrs. Morehouse was a talented writer. Her novel, Rain on the Just, was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. She had a special appreciation of the English language and the natural beauty of the Brushy Mountains. The critically acclaimed novel in the mid-1930s was to help preserve phraseology, customs, and folkways because she realized they were rapidly vanishing. The rolling hills of North Carolina are home to the Brushy Mountain Bee Farm. This rich land with varied wild plants is a perfect spot for honeybees. Steve and Sandy Forrest opened the Brushy Mountain Bee Farm for business in 1977.
We came up to Wilkes County and bought about 100 acres of land and established our business. We were both in the school system. Steve was teaching business and I was teaching kindergarten, and we worked at that for about 6 years, and then we established our business and worked at it on weekends and then developed it into a full-time job. And we got interested in it because we were working with a teacher who had bees, and we had always been fascinated by it. Steve enjoyed doing woodworking, and and his father was in a business, a merchandising business, and it just kind of was established from that point. We keep bees to experiment with new equipment that we bring in from other countries or that we develop ourselves, and we have bees for training purposes for our customers.